I got the chance to review every single one of Narwal's automatic Robo Vacuums and mop combos. And today we're going to be focusing on their flagship model. The Z Ultra. Narwal states this is a completely hands-off model with a zero maintenance requirement. It has dual RGB cameras and a claim that I find a little hard to believe as someone that has used Robo Vacuums for a number of years now. A 0% Tangle roller brush, meaning no matter how many furry friends you have in this house, this thing should never stop going. So I really wanted to put the Z Ultra to the test and see how well it stacks up. There's just one question left to ask: is this good or bad tech? I make weekly videos helping consumers like you make better buying decisions on the many different tech items on the market. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit the subscribe button right down below. The Z Ultra offers a visually appealing and simplistic design that fits a ton of tight spaces around your home. The RoboVac fits directly in the base station, where it fully encloses it while it performs its post-cleanup maintenance. With 12,000 suction power and dual spinning mop heads that move at 180 RPM and 1.2 kilograms of downward pressure. Spec-wise, this is easily competitive with any of the other top Robo Vacuum brands currently out there. It uses a dual navigation system, which involves two built-in RGB cameras and the tri-laser technology, which helps it detect over 120 different objects. It also detects different flooring types, applying more or less pressure depending on the material, as well lifting the mop heads over 12 millimeters, just in case you happen to have an area rug or maybe some mats by your front entrance. This way they don't get mopped as well. But the claim that really got me excited is the apparent tangle-free roller brush. The Z Ultra is SGS certified for a 0% tangle rate. Now, one of my biggest gripes with Robo Vacuums is a lot of the times those roller brushes get super tangled up on the ends to the point where they will automatically stop running until you clean it out. It's gonna end up looking something like this, with hair caught up all on the end. This is from my Eufy X10 model. I constantly have to use a knife to cut through the hair and untangle it by hand. Yeah, that is far from a maintenance-free experience. By utilizing a roller brush that only connects to one end and suspends from the other, apparently this is a completely tangle-free design. 0% they say. So I wanted to put the Z Ultra to the test by matching it up with 3 different levels of hair, grime, and mess to clean up. Let's start with level 1, which is just a little bit of hair spread out across the floor. Level 1 complete. It looked like it crushed it, but let's check out the roller brush. No tangle going on there yet. Now for level 2, we're gonna add some bigger clumps on the ground to make this more challenging to pick up. So level 2 was all about big clumps, and it didn't tangle, but it wasn't necessarily a success. For one, the big clump got stuck all around the side pusher roller brush. And 2, the RoboVac actually couldn't distinguish this over an object or a big clump of hair, so it didn't even approach it. Now for level 3, I really wanted to push this thing to the limits and have the hair super spread out, but a ton of it. And for that, we need more hair. Well, this should be enough for level 3. So here is the mess we're dealing with. We got cat litter, we got clumps of hair. Let's see how it handles it. Level 3 actually had some interesting results. Check this out. Although nothing actually tangled, there may be clumps that are just too big to fit into the actual slot, but there is still no hair tangled up in the machine. However, Most of the tangling actually came from these side spinners where it just didn't push it in good enough into the slot. Now, with over a month of testing, I have had no tangling whatsoever from average daily cleanup. Obviously, that was a bit of an exaggeration, but it's good to push machines like this to the limits to see how much they can handle. Let's get into Narwal's dedicated app, which has a really simple, easy to use interface where you can easily access any of the Robo Vacuums you have set up in your home. Narwal has a pretty robust mapping system. Through the settings, we're able to edit our maps, split rooms, merge rooms, rename them anything we want, add furniture to further customize it, and even select the floor material, since the mop heads will apply more pressure depending on which one you do select. They have a ton of different presets based on what you want to do, whether it's just a vacuum, just a mop, or a vacuum and mop combo. You can further customize how many times you want to clean, the suction power, the mopping cycle, and the humidity level. There's also Freo Mind mode. This is their AI cleaning that will kind of do its own thing and clean around where it thinks it needs to. You can select individual rooms to clean, or even set specific zones. Schedule every day of cleaning ahead of time, that way this thing does all the work for you. But the feature I really want to show is this little camera button right here. That's right, this allows me to control the Robo Vacuum like a go-kart. I'm not saying you should get 2 of these to potentially have races, but it has blue guiding lines at the bottom. That way you can see if you're about to hit anything or if you're on the correct path. You can also activate the vacuum with that bottom right option. Select the vacuum amount and make cleaning a fun chore for your kids. When you're done, press the home button to send it right back to its base. One of the keynote features that Narwal offers is DirtSense AI 2.0. This is the ability to detect both wet and dry messes in real time, deviating from its planned path, applying higher vacuum power, and also raising the roller brush and lowering the mop pads when you reach wet messes. They do that so there's no cross-contamination between the wet and the dry. I'll say this mostly works. So I set my RoboVac to start cleaning my kitchen and started spreading some coffee grinds and other messes on the ground. And yes, it did deviate from its path and start to raise the vacuum power in order to clean the coffee grinds. However, it only cleaned around 75% of the mess before it went on its normal path again, leaving the rest for later. At the same time, it also sensed a wet mess nearby. Now, this was obviously a little too much liquid for the machine because the mop heads ended up spreading it right into the coffee grinds. Now, I have more to say about its cleaning ability, but we're going to get to that in a later section. I think one of the most interesting add-ons for the Z Ultra is the Baseboard Sweeper. This is a little clip-on module that connects on the bottom of the device and has a Velcro fluffy pad that goes on the side. While the RoboVac is cleaning super close to the baseboards, it gently sweeps the baseboards with this fluffy pad, and that's supposed to knock off any hair or dust. As someone that has a ton of animals, I do get like random bits of hair on my baseboard, which is really annoying and it looks terrible. And I can say this works actually really well when it stays on its Velcro. I noticed numerous times where it just falls off. The Velcro just wasn't strong enough, and I'll randomly find it on the ground somewhere in my house. Great feature, could maybe use some improvement. So let's talk about my cleaning experience with the Z Ultra, because I had a chance to test this out for over a month with a bunch of different style messes. For the vacuum capabilities, the 12,000 PA was definitely more than enough. Whether it's dirt, cereal, rice, or dog hair, cat hair, it does a very good job cleaning all of that up. I think the vacuum is really what shines with this unit, especially because of the zero tangle brush, which I confirmed earlier does in fact not tangle. I have 2 cats and a dog in my house, and keeping up with all that hair that's falling off on the ground can be hard, but having something like this will keep the hair down in your house probably 90% more than you had before you got it. As for the mopping, I would say the same. I was actually really impressed with the Smart Edge swinging technology, where it can get up to 0.22 of an inch close to a baseboard or other objects. And compared to my Eufy X10, this gets a lot closer to the baseboards and is able to clean better close to them. As for simple daily messes, I think it works great. Whether it's my dog coming in with paw marks after there's a little bit of mud outside, it's able to easily handle those. But when you get to the extreme messes, that's a different story. So I wanted to test this out by making a complete mess of my kitchen. Coffee grinds, milk, dirty coffee water, all on the ground. It was a decent amount of liquid, but I thought it would be able to clean it up. So I put it on a cycle to start cleaning the kitchen. I had it on completely max settings. When it reached the mess, mostly what it did was spread it around on the ground. Now it did clean up, I would say around 30% of it before it had to head back to the home base and start drying its mop pads again. Now my expectation was because it sensed the mess, after it dried, it would come back and finish the cycle. But that wasn't the case. It dried the mop pads and it finished. So this is what the mess looked like the next day after that first clean. You can still see some coffee grinds in the ground, and you can see some spilt water stains, but most of it's dried up at this point. A second clean, and it got most of it, but even on the max settings, the combination of the dried milk with the coffee grinds, it just couldn't pull it up. For daily use and basic maintenance of your floors, it works amazing. But if you're expecting this to clean up super heavy, wet messes, it's probably just not going to be able to handle it. So my suggestion is just do a really light mop and then have this do all the hard work after. As for the obstacle avoidance, I was pretty impressed. The tri-laser technology combined with the dual RGB cameras did a great job dodging every obstacle in my living room. In fact, it can read objects as low as 0.39 of an inch, and even the smallest remote it was able to detect. It also didn't put itself in a lot of tricky situations. I only caught one time where it got stuck between a ledge and my cat tower, and the Z Ultra just couldn't figure out how to back up and not go there again. If you have ever had a Robo Vacuum, getting stuck just happens sometimes, so you have to be prepared to slightly change some parts of your room to further adapt to its needs as well. Let's talk about parts and continuing maintenance, because Narwal says this is basically a maintenance-free experience, and I would mostly agree with that. The built-in 120-day vacuum bag is amazing. After your vacuum finishes a heavy cleaning cycle, it goes back and automatically empties into the base station. I was really surprised with how quiet the emptying is compared to my X10 model. It also automatically dries and cleans the mop heads. That's also pretty quiet and works really well. One thing they added in with this model is a front-facing detergent slot where you can put in their patented floor cleaner, which you have to purchase separately. So these will run you about an additional $30, and it seems like they last quite a while. But I'm somebody that doesn't want to pay that much for extra floor cleaner, so I just end up using a little bit of Pine Sol inside of the clean water bin. I did that before with my X10 and I found it worked pretty well, so for me, that saves a little bit of money. There's only 2 bits of maintenance you have to do regularly with the base station. One is empty the dirty water and put in the clean water. For whatever reason, it seems like the Z Ultra uses a lot more water than my Eufy X10. I end up having to change it more often. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. It could mean that it's using more water on the floor, thus cleaning it more. Or it could be using too much. For me, this isn't a big deal. I empty the dirty water, I load it with clean water, you pop it in, that's it. The other one is cleaning the little removable pad at the bottom. Now this is where your mop pads get cleaned and everything gets sucked out of it. This is pretty easy, just rinse it out under water, throw it back in, and you're good to start using it again. Now the actual vacuum has a few components you're gonna have to change from time to time. First is the filter built into the dustbin. Then you have the Velcro pads that are on the mop heads. There's the Tangle free rolling brush, and the 2 side brushes that help to push everything into the Robo Vac. Now this is pretty normal with all Robo Vac models, so it's an investment you're gonna have to get used to if you want to keep one of these running regularly and running properly. I haven't really used it long enough to let you know how long those pieces last, but I'll keep you updated through some shorts in the future on my channel. The Narwal Z Ultra goes for a total of $14.99 USD, which puts it in the higher tier price of Robo Mop and Vacuum combo stations. This is an expensive investment, but if you look at the specs compared to the models that cost $400 to $500 more, this is easily competitive with it. If you wanted, you could easily get another base station model from Narwal or a different company that's $500 cheaper that will still do a serviceable job. So you're really paying the extra money for the more suction power, the dual RGB cameras, and I think most importantly, that 120-day vacuum bag, which is going to leave a lot less maintenance for you in the future. After using this for a month, I really think it holds up. It is a great device, and I am happy to call this good tech. Although there's definitely some parts Narwal can improve on in the future, for their first flagship model, I'm pretty impressed. So if you want to purchase the Z Ultra, I have the link right down below in the description for you to check out. Thank you guys for checking out this video. If you enjoyed this episode of Bad Tech, hit the subscribe button right down below. I'll see you guys next week.